What was the writing process for Family Tree specifically? Did you have a lot of that concept sort of up front, even before, you know, album one? Or
Okay, so that was the probably uh, that was the one that most got away from me. And so the kind of arc of it was that I made Ghost, and when I put it out, no one liked it. It was a very non-receptive launch. And at the other time, Electric President was doing well. So I was like, well, okay, I'll just focus on the other band and I'll just do this for me, much more so. Um, and so I was writing the next concept for the record, and it was very heavily inspired by just books I had been reading, like John Steinbeck and 100 Years of Solitude by Marquez, and like I was reading To Kill a Mockingbird. I was reading a lot of these family sagas, and I come from a huge, very dysfunctional family, and so it ended up being an interesting topic that I was like, I think I want to do a series of really short albums, but that each one covers a generation, and that exploded into like so many songs. Um, and the writing period for that was 2 years. So I started it in 2007 and was writing for it all the way to 2009, but recording no actual songs, just demos and words, and pretty much just a long period of pushing the ideas out while I was more officially working with Electric President. And and then in 2010, I was already recording the album, and that's when Welcome Home ended up on a Nikon commercial in Europe. And out of the blue, everyone was like, "What is this record?" And I was like, "The one from 3 years ago that no one liked." And now everyone's like, "You need to go tour." And I was like, "What?" Like it was all like completely out of the blue to me. Like the band that no one likes is now the one they like, and I have no idea how to play this live. I made it by myself. Um, and like some of those songs have 100 tracks on them because I layered so much. I don't know how I'm gonna play this. and uh, but luckily, I was already recording this next record, so it kind of timed up, and I could start touring for the Roots, and it ended up working out. But it was all pretty like none of this makes any sense to me. I have no idea why anything works. Um, I just make things. It goes where it goes. But yeah, all of the initial ideas were in that period between 2007 and 2009. Each record had maybe two songs that would happen over the course of making the record that ended up on the album that were newer. But the initial framework for the idea was written in that 2 year period. And then it took 8 years to finish, like six
Wait,
more years of recording. um,
and rewriting lyrics, or
yeah.
did you revisit them, or did
Yeah,
you?
no, they mostly all got rewritten. It's I would say from those initial pages to final result, I would say the lyrics that made it through the whole journey, there was like probably only one or two songs on each record that stayed pretty true to uh, the actual original writing. The concept stayed the same, but I found a very different way to tell it. Um, like sometimes it was even just move the point of view. Like when I got to the record, I was like, oh, I'm going to tell it from the point of view of this person in the story, not that person. So I rewrote it because I was like, emotionally, it'd be more interesting from their angle. And so it allowed me to be much more free with, like, I knew I wanted a different arrangement, and I was like, it should be from her, not him. Like, it allowed me a lot of flexibility.
That sounds like a pretty extensive rewrite as well, changing the perspective completely to the other person.
Oh, it was. Yeah, sometimes it was the only thing that carried over was that core event, and that's kind of something I really love about working with themes over specific words is that it still allows the studio to feel creative, and I still have flexibility with how I approach the words and the music and how they'll combine. So that way I don't feel too hemmed in. And so I think I intentionally leave that looseness
Hmm.
so that when I get to really making the final version, I can make a lot of decisions in that moment, as opposed to having to completely agree with myself from 6 years ago. You know, I that's an unlikely event.
Yeah. Do you can we maybe delve into one of the songs from that album? I think The Mute is one of those songs that seem to really resonate with people. Do you remember writing that and sort of, well, you've written it probably many times over.
That's actually one that I did not rewrite. That's
Oh,
one that
really?
stayed the same from the beginning. And that I think it stayed the same because of the inspiration of the subjects. So uh, I'm from a very large family. I'm one of 10 children. And then I have a lot of nieces and nephews. And one of my nephews is autistic and nonverbal. And so the idea for the song, it was when I was kind of developing the whole concept is just, you know, there's a total active life of a person that doesn't speak and you just don't know it. You will never know it.
Mm.
And it was really just a kind of a muse. It was a thing of what goes on in your head. You're clearly observant and intelligent. You just don't talk. And so that was one that I think because the subject was more something just very in front of me in my own life. It was something that I wrote, and the kind of story all came pretty quick. And I wrote the basic idea of the chords, and when I went to record it, it didn't change a ton. You know, I added a bit more to the arrangement, but that's about it. It was a that was one of the fast ones on that record. Like I think I made it in 2 days and was I never went back. It was very easy comparatively. So
What was a hard one?
the song on that record that would be the Crooked Kind. I recorded that 9 times over from start to finish to find it, and like I would get to the end and go no and delete it, and it was uh, that was probably the most I've ever re-recorded a song completely in my life. Um, and every iteration, like some of them were wildly different. I just couldn't find the mood. I would get it to where it always felt off, and I didn't know why. And uh, the only reason it ended up working, I think, was the last time I did it. I just didn't start with guitar. I was like, don't use the guitar to begin. Start with something else. So I started with drums. Like I'm going to start with percussion and then see where I go from there. And that's how I finally got a version that worked. So yeah, I remember being really frustrated with that song because I knew there was a song, I just couldn't figure it out.
It turned out fantastic though. So probably worth the 9 retries of it.
In the end, I was actually really happy with it. But yeah, it was so that was one where I could not figure out how to glue the like. I was like, it needs to feel mysterious and spooky in the beginning, and then like the acceptance and joy of acceptance at the end, and I can't get it to transition. It just always sounded wrong.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so some songs are just frustrating.
Yeah. It's a hard thing, I guess.